Welcome back to my channel. Okay, well, while editing the video, I realized that I was talking unorganized stuff for like half an hour. So I tried to I'm trying to make it somewhat a little bit organized. I have some notes. It is very unprofessional, but I think I'm gonna read them, so you maybe have some sort of idea what I'm trying to express to you. And also, my phone doesn't have storage anymore. It's a great combination. Anyway, so to give you some sort of idea about what this video is supposed to be about. Okay, because we have to start at the beginning if we want to understand where our self-doubt is rooted, especially for people that believe in God and spirituality. Why? Because if we talk about God, it is often described as a he, a father and a son. Why? Because all these religions are made from patriarchal men that wanted to destroy the power a woman holds. I could ask as well, why? Why were they targeting us? What is in us that they were so afraid of that they had to target us? Because nothing comes closer to God than a woman being able to create and birth a living human being. And making God a man allowed them to name themselves the direct representatives of God, and therefore oppress women and tell them that men are the natural leader and the natural ruler of this world. And that is so important, because if our whole world is based on these principles, we don't have to be surprised why, as a woman, you often struggle with self-doubt, with feeling of of being unworthy, because that's literally the system you were born into. But if we learn about what was preached before patriarchy was invented, and if we find out why they even try to oppress us, because actually just the fact that they wanted to oppress us and that they had such a almost fear about women, what is it that is so powerful about us? Anyway, developing a patriarchal system, we could erase what was preached before. And if we look at history, and the kind of history that isn't taught in school, because for some reason they don't want you to know about history before patriarchy, because it wouldn't be beneficial for them to know that there were ancient civilizations, actually a lot of ancient civilizations that were called a wonder of their time, because they were so futuristic in a way, advanced, that's what I'm looking for, because they were so advanced, were actually matriarchy, and that wouldn't feed the patriarchal view, and thereby they had to erase it. So if we want to think about, okay, what is our power, we just have to think about, okay, what we have to look at history and see the gaps and see, okay, what did they erase? What knowledge are they keeping from us, so we don't know what the true power of a woman is? And it's the erasement of matriarchy and ancient goddesses and ancient priests, as well as controlling the reproductive system of a woman. Because if you like actually thinking about that we are able to create the next generation, like we can pass on the knowledge of our whole generation and pass it on to the next generation. Like us deciding if we want to have children, us deciding the way we want to raise those children determines how our future society will look like. And especially that was especially important when we were living in tribes, to like see, okay, we have to raise them in a way that we were able to survive and thrive as a tribe. So we were literally responsible for creating the future of our tribe, for sustaining the future of our civilization. And that is pretty powerful. And, you know, because men, they don't have a uterus, they can't have children. So it's in us women to decide if we want to have children, how we want to have children, and how we're going to raise them. And by taking away, they can't take away this kind of power because, again, they don't have a uterus. So what can they do? They can try to control the woman, and therefore they control the population and the children and the future that comes after. So they try to control our reproductive system by banning abortion, by banning contraception, by creating this purity like culture of like a man, like a woman should be shameful for like having sex and all that stuff. And like religion was a big part of that. Religion was preaching us women to feel ashamed of our abilities, and even that like our period blood, everything that has to do with our power was diminished, was devalued, was connected to negative emotions, and therefore bringing down our vibrations. And that everything has to do with man being afraid of the woman's power. And there's so much more. And there's also another sentence. By making God male, man could claim spiritual superiority to compensate for their inability to create life. I think that is a very powerful sentence, and I think that reflects so much of, in a way, like they wanted to have the absolute control, but they're unable because we basically carry the portal to the future, because we are able to create the next generation and therefore determine the future. And men wanted that kind of power. They wanted to abuse that kind of power, and because they are unable to do that, they had to oppress us women, so that we would feel dependent on the man and can only make decisions with a man consent, and therefore the man could have the absolute power over the woman, and then also have the power about the children and the future. And like, this doesn't mean that our only like purpose in life is to have children. Like, absolutely not. That's also a way to I guess that they want, like, the narrative they wanted to teach us, or to like ingrain in us, to like just say that the only thing that is valuable about us is the ability to give life. But no, there's so much more. And I'm just saying that just having that ability, even if we don't use it, is so like powerful already. I would say it's also more about the ability to influence the future, which a lot of us women are not aware of, that we have that ability. And right now I'm only talking about childbirth, because that is the most visible example, I guess, you know, because us being pregnant and us like pushing out a human being, that is very much visible. We can, and then we can carry the baby and say like, I made that. But it's not about that. It's not just about that. We can adapt that principle that we carry in us to different things, that we can birth the future. And not just human beings, but dreams and knowledge. We can carry out the future.